Well, this is NASCAR Forgotten Division number 2, and again, I said this in number 1. I know there's more, but this is the other division I remember in my lifetime. Years back, they had a Speedway division I remember reading about, and a convertible division. But the division I want to talk about is Grand National East, which was formed in 1972, had a very short 2-year run. But the reason for the forming, when R.J. Reynolds' Winston Tobacco Company, Winston brand, became the title sponsor in 1971, the schedule was realigned for 1972 to what's commonly referred to as the modern era. Gone were the races less than 250 miles. Now, the Daytona 500 qualifying races, 125 miles in length at that time, were now non-points races. There are drivers with wins 1971 and before that count in their total, and the drivers with wins after 1972 to the present. For instance, Dale Earnhardt would have at least 10 more wins because he won every race from 1990 to 1999, and I think some more. And the Grand National East holds a special memory for me because at nearby Salem, Indiana, was my first NASCAR race of any kind. I was about 13, so it holds a special memory. I won't deny it. It was another 8 years before I went to an actual Cup race at Nashville in '81. But the Grand National East, now granted, some of the big money teams such as Bobby Allison driving for Junior Johnson in '72, Bobby Isaac and driving for the Harry Hyde and the K&K Insurance Dodge, and Buddy Baker later on the K&K Dodge, all won races in it. But what this allowed, remember, the factories had pulled out after the '70 season. In 1972, on the regular Winston Cup circuit, the 1969 model cars, which there were plenty of them around, would not be eligible. Well, they elected to make them eligible for Grand National East. Also eligible were the Grand American cars. That division had pretty much run its course, unfortunately. So they were eligible. In fact, they did win some races. Bobby Allison, in what I believe to be the same car, he won a Winston Cup race in 1971, also referred to as Grand National back then, won a Grand National East race in that Mustang. But 1972, champion was journeyman driver Neil Soapy Castles, driving Chrysler products. Now, the interesting thing about Neil Castles is he often supplemented his racing income by having cameras mounted on his car for upcoming racing movies. During regular races, in fact, he would have to pit to unload the camera, but he was getting paid by the people that made the movie to do this. 1973 champ, and also in 1973, let me say this, several races were co-sanctioned with ARCA. And I'm going to link to a very nice website, grandnationaleast.com, I found. It has probably as many results as available for Grand National East. And you know, some pretty good drivers run Grand National East. You will see the name Richard Childress, who also run Grand American. You will even see Marty Robbins. Of course, you'll see some of the big names, Harry Gant. But you'll see some names, but just if you get a chance, check out this website. What I remember about that Salem race is Bruce Gould, G-O-U-L-D, in the Strickler Auto Parts car out of the, I believe, the Cincinnati area. They run Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They run Toledo, Queen City, which was a nice track just north of Cincinnati and now unfortunately gone, and Salem on Sunday. Bruce Gould won all three of them. Bob Seneker, big name in the short tracks, won a Grand National East race. But unfortunately, the division just didn't catch on. The idea was solid. There were cars around that could fill the fields. But Richard Petty never run a Grand National East race. Cale Yarborough raced some. But I wish it would have caught on. The idea, it was kind of a deal for the underfunded teams. Tiny Lund was the champion in 1973, and frankly, and I may do one. I've got some, they should be in the Hall of Fame vlogs, but after researching this, I'm thinking maybe Tiny Lund belongs in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Multiple championships in Grand American, one out of 2 championships in Grand National East, and a Daytona 500 win. You know, maybe he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but that's a whole different story. But just, like I say, you get a chance, check his website out. It is a nice website. A guy named Jeff Droke, I believe his name is. I hope I'm not, Jeff, if you're watching, I hope I'm not butchering your name, because you've got, in fact, he's got 2 fine websites. He's got www.grandnationaleast.com, and search, I'm not sure the exact website, but search Nashville420.com about the, what we now know as Sprint Cup races at Nashville. So that's just been my take on another forgotten division in NASCAR.